Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page are two of the most legendary guitarists in the history of rock music, each contributing enormously to the evolution of blues rock and shaping the sound of modern guitar playing. For decades, fans and critics have speculated about the relationship between the two, with countless rumors floating around about rivalry, resentment, and even deep friendship. Recently, Eric Clapton has finally addressed these rumors, offering an honest and revealing insight into his connection with Jimmy Page, and the truth may surprise many. Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page were both born in England and came up through the British music scene during the same era. Their paths crossed many times, both professionally and personally, but perhaps no connection was more pivotal than their link through the Yardbirds. Clapton was one of the earliest guitarists for the Yardbirds, but left the band in 1965, frustrated with their move toward a more commercial sound. His departure opened the door for a young Jeff Beck to join, and eventually, Jimmy Page, who would later become the band's final guitarist before forming Led Zeppelin. For years, there have been rumors suggesting that Clapton resented Page's success, particularly with Led Zeppelin's meteoric rise and their heavier, more aggressive brand of rock. But in recent interviews, Clapton has finally set the record straight. He expressed not only respect but genuine admiration for Page's work, especially in the early days of Zeppelin. According to Clapton, the rumors of bitterness were exaggerated and largely a product of media speculation and fan rivalries rather than actual conflict between the two men. Clapton explained that while they weren't best friends or constantly in each other's lives, there was always mutual respect. He acknowledged that Page was one of the most innovative guitarists of their generation, praising his compositional skill and studio ingenuity. Clapton noted that the way Page crafted Led Zeppelin's sound, particularly his use of layering guitar tracks and pioneering studio techniques, was groundbreaking. Clapton, who came from a more blues purist background, admitted that he didn't always understand Zeppelin's sound at first, but over time came to deeply appreciate its brilliance. Interestingly, Clapton also discussed the competitive nature of the British rock scene during the 1960s and 70s. He said that a healthy sense of rivalry existed among guitarists like himself, Page, Jeff Beck, and others, but it was less about animosity and more about pushing each other to innovate and improve. He recounted seeing Page perform with Led Zeppelin and being blown away by the sheer power and precision of the band. Far from feeling envious, Clapton said it inspired him to explore new directions in his own music. Clapton also addressed a long-standing rumor that he had once turned down an opportunity to collaborate with Page more extensively. While there was never a formal offer for a joint album or project, Clapton confirmed that the idea had been floated informally during casual conversations. However, he said the timing was never right, as both of them were deeply immersed in their own musical journeys. He added that had circumstances been different, a collaboration could have been fascinating, but he has no regrets about the path he chose. What Clapton emphasized most, though, was the importance of legacy and mutual contribution to the history of rock and roll. He acknowledged that Jimmy Page helped bring blues to a wider audience through a more dramatic, electrified style, while Clapton himself took a more roots-oriented approach. In his view, both approaches were essential to the evolution of rock music, and he expressed pride in being part of a generation of musicians who weren't afraid to experiment and take risks. One particularly touching part of Clapton's reflections came when he spoke about their shared experiences with personal challenges, including battles with addiction and the pressures of fame. Clapton noted that while he and Page didn't often talk deeply about these struggles, there was an unspoken understanding between them, an empathy that comes from walking similar paths. He described Page as a survivor and a true artist, someone who, despite his demons, managed to channel his energy into groundbreaking music that still resonates today. Perhaps the most surprising revelation from Clapton's remarks was his open acknowledgement of Page's influence on his own playing. While Clapton is often viewed as the more traditional blues player and Page as the more experimental rocker, Clapton admitted that some of Page's ideas, especially his use of dynamics and texture, had made their way into his own approach over the years. He pointed to certain live performances and studio sessions where he found himself borrowing techniques that Page had popularized, such as alternate tunings and layered guitar harmonies. Clapton's comments seemed to put to rest decades of speculation about a feud or rivalry between the two. Instead of resentment, there appears to be deep mutual respect and even inspiration. While they may have traveled different roads and developed distinct musical identities, Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page share a rich history and a bond forged by their passion for music. In the end, Clapton's confirmation doesn't reveal some explosive drama, but something far more human: two artists with different visions, navigating fame and creativity in their own ways, occasionally intersecting, and ultimately appreciating each other's contributions. The rumors may have added mystique to their legends, but the truth, as Clapton finally confirms, is a story of mutual respect and enduring influence.